Morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, January 10th. And with us today, I have Don Schwenker, Jim Flegel, and myself, Mike Spanish, as your county supervisors. I have Lisa and Bjorn here from the auditor's office. Luann, our executive assistant. Mary is here from the media. And I guess that's all the visitors we have. We have nobody zooming today. Well, welcome if you're on there and I don't see you.
Yeah.
So our first item on our agenda today would be Todd Keeney, our deputy county engineer. Morning, Todd.
Morning.
Morning, Todd.
Okay, first item here is the award for the paving project on Y61 from the Bellevue Cascade Road to Lamont Corporation for this. So the resolution before you, the one apparent bidder or one bidder, Matthew does quite a bit of the work in this area, but it was slightly over the estimate, but this is just a resolution to award so we can process the contract and bonds and stuff.
So this was slightly over the estimate that we had around 5 years ago.
That's correct.
And it's been in just for the other 2 years, it's been in our 5-year road plan for 5 years.
How many bids did you get?
One
One bid?
So this is all up through the DOT, so,
Pretty much we just take the bid.
yeah.
Okay.
And what's the pleasure of the board? Is there?
This is all financed through road use tax, it's, we're not, there's no bond on this, so we're just paying for it, right?
Yeah, so this is all farm to market funds, which it's the county, we get road use tax that comes to us here from the secondary road fund. There's also farm to market money, this road use tax. It's technically our money, but the DOT keeps it. And then when we do a project, when we get an invoice from the contractor, we send it to the DOT and the DOT issues payment. It's our money, but they keep it like a bank. They don't give it to us, basically. But it doesn't hit our secondary road fund here.
And I thank you for that explanation because that whole funding process with them is clear as mud. So
It's quite different than how every other department within the county.
So that comes to us, it comes to us, but then the DOT separates, or the state separates part of it out and maintains it in like a separate account on the farm to market. And we can just withdraw from it periodically as we do these projects.
That's correct, but technically it doesn't come to the treasurer.
It's just a,
It stays at the state. It's a percentage of the road use tax collected. We get the SURF formula. So we get a certain amount that the county gets. It stays in our farm to market account at the state level. We don't see it, but it's ours to use on projects like this.
Okay.
So just a brief explanation, maybe not even real brief, is how many different types of funding is there for the secondary road?
So it's farm to market. There's surface transportation block grant, that's federal aid. That's another one of those funds that we don't see here locally. It stays at the DOT. It's ours to use, but it's technically they're the bank, I guess. There's regular road use tax money that we get allocated. That comes through the treasurer's office. That is ours to use. There's property tax and there's local option sales tax those local option sales, property tax and standard road use tax comes at the secondary road fund. And once it hits that fund, it's constitutionally protected. It has to be used for roads.
So and this is just for knowledge with the federal money and the state money, the farm to market. Will we see balances on that, or is that just, or do they just put a certain allocation in each year and just let us know, or how does that work?
So it's online, but there's a quarterly statement you get for the farm market account, so I'll know that. And then the balance through the RPA, the balance of our SDP money and bridge replacement money, there's a spreadsheet that comes from the DOT that I get, and there's also a balance kept at the RPA.
Okay. Move through.
something like that.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution number line 34-01-10-2023 as presented. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Just on this, is this gonna be a complete removal of the current surface?
So that's what I was gonna kind of give you, so it's a PC concrete road, Portland cement concrete road. So they're doing a leveling course to kind of level it up, and then there's a 1-inch interlayer, which is a highly polymerized asphalt. It's supposed to be a crack resistant or crack mitigation layer. And then there's new asphalt that goes on top. So it's gonna be 5 inches of new asphalt on the existing surface.
I know in the city, we were, when we were doing mill and fill kind of thing, they would put in a mat. Is that what we were, it was like a mesh mat? That they-
That's like petromat. That's a crack mitigation thing too. We wouldn't necessarily, it's similar, but that's like an actual, like a thin, like a, call it a fibrous, like a, this is actually it's an inch thick. And it's like, we've done it in Clinton County too. The inner layers are, how do you describe it? It's dense but flexible, so it's highly dense.
So
It
like
has,
a wrestling mat or something like that.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
a lot
kinda
more for-
so like if you had a bucket of asphalt, you literally poured it out on the ground. It by the in the morning, it would kind of be leveled out almost flat. It's that like viscous, yeah.
Okay. And then it does eventually solidify.
Yeah, so you drive on it. So like when they lay it down, you're driving on it, but it's the layer that goes in between
Right.
the rigid pavement and then the
Right.
flexible asphalt on top.
Okay. I just, yeah, I know that was a big thing, because when you're doing asphalt or whatever, cracks translate through them pretty
Yeah,
quickly, so.
So just a little history on that road. It is the oldest paved road in Jackson County at 54 years actually. With the life estimate of expectancy of what, 25?
probably when it was designed.
But anyway, that road has been patched last year, extensively patched. I think there was from Lamont to Andrew was over 1,000 patches.
Yeah, it was, we had the contingency money that we're trying to spend down. And that was, patching was one of the things that,
Right.
Patching and bridge replacement were the two hot buttons that we wanted to take care of with trying to spend down our carryover balance, so. It needed,
Because that has to be patched before they overlay it anyway,
That's
otherwise it'll come through.
Right.
But the road from Springbrook to Bellevue is the new style 5-inch with the inner layer in it. We're not only
Yeah.
2 years ago. So if you want to look at that road, I mean, there is some deadline cracks.
No, I just wanted to make sure.
you will be able to tell the difference.
Layer.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, you wouldn't know if
Yeah,
it has
right.
a layer or not until hopefully you can see the difference. Well, you don't leave a test section, so you do the whole road, but you could have left a test section where you didn't do like 1,000 feet of it and see, count the linear foot of crack versus putting it down, but there's research, done on through the Highway Research Board to show that, yeah, this is a good product to use, so. It's much more expensive, per ton.
Did we use that on the red, whatever road? that
Red
is?
Schoolhouse Road?
I don't know.
I think we did. That was maybe the first one we did it on. From the airport down to the Clinton County.
The paved road by the airport.
What we call Y46.
Or
The technical.
The numbers in.
that's what Jackson County calls our school.
Yeah, so like you can, to mitigate reflective cracking, like you're talking about, there's a lot of things you do. A lot of times what we do is break up the pavement, like lightly crack it ahead of time. So that you have less big panels that shift or move. That all helps, but in the long run, you're still gonna end up with some cracking and even thermal cracking. Those are the transverse cracks across the road. Doesn't really matter what you do, you're gonna end up with thermal cracks because just the way the pavement, expands and contracts with temperature. So,
Okay, I believe we finished that, right? We voted and we're completely on to the next item, which would be discussion of possible action on the resolution for 49th Street Bridge replacement.
Yep, same situation, DOT letting using the federal BR money. Got 2 bidders on this one. Shredder Construction being a little bid, and they do really good work. I'm glad to see that,
Can I ask who the other bid was from, Taylor?
No, you can't, Taylor, it was Taylor. So that estimate is actually under our estimate, or excuse me, the bid was under the estimate by 3.5%, so,
That's just north of Monmouth, is that correct?
yeah, north, well, yeah, north and a little west, yeah. Recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the 49th Street Bridge project replacement.
Have a motion and a second to approve the 49th Street Bridge Replacement Resolution number 935-01-10-2023 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay.
Funding is coming out of.
Motion.
So that's federal BR bridge replacement money. So it's one of those funds that
That's separate,
Yeah.
the other fund.
Correct.
Well, I don't know how you want to go into this deep dive of this, but so this is bridge off system funding. So
We
it's,
don't have to go deep today, but eventually.
yeah, so
I
the
like
only
that.
difference is it's still federal aid, but if it's an off system bridge, what happens is the county has to pay for it initially out of local funds, or I should say the secondary road fund. And then what happens is we get reimbursed back. So it's a pass through.
Okay,
It's just when it's off system, I don't know why the DOT does it this way. I think it's by federal statute, but we pay for it initially. So we have to show an expense in our budget, but we also show the revenue coming back to us for our reimbursement from the BR account. So it's a pass through. You'll see, it's funded by the federal aid BR money, but we show it as an expense because we have to pay for it and get reimbursed.
I think it's all good information and it's all a little bit confusing and Todd is really good at explaining it. So if you ever want to sit down with Todd at some point and go over some of that revenue that comes or funding that comes available to us. So,
There's always room for more. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
well, more questions or more money?
Both. Both. All right, so the last item here is a entrance permit approval. I just was talking to Roger this morning. He's done the site distance check on it. It's slightly under the requirement from the south approach, but it would be an instance where we could do the hidden driveway sign and then approve it. So that's what basically the recommendation would be. So it's a Class D field entrance.
and what's about the only location you can put it at.
Yeah,
So
so
we've reduced speed before too, but that's not necessary, correct?
yeah, for this one, I think 360 feet was kind of the threshold we were using for where we would need a hidden driveway sign. This is, I think, around 350, so I think, I mean, you're probably gonna be okay putting up a hidden driveway sign. There's already a driveway opposite of this on the other side of the road, so there's one already pre-existing. Plus, it's one, I think it's one of those, it's got the real sharp, short vertical curves. So I mean, I think you'd be all right just putting up a hidden sign, because there's already a driveway there anyway, and there's no
Yeah.
hidden sign.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the driveway permit
with the hidden driveway.
with the hidden driveway sign, most definitely.
A second, that.
Have a motion and a second to approve the entrance permit for Roger Kilberg. As presented with the hidden driveway sign. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Had several calls on High Bridge Road. I don't know if you're aware. You've been-
And talk to Roger about that.
Okay, I had a discussion with Roger.
So I guess in general too, I would offer or recommend to the board, when you get calls about roads, you can, obviously talk to the person, get, their concerns, but at the end of the call, I would recommend that they call the office and talk to the office.
No, I always do that, and you have to understand that they're used to that, because previously, they didn't get much cooperation, so. That's why sometimes they said, they're gonna call my supervisor if that's my district or whatever, so I said, well, I really appreciate you, I'm not stepping on my engineer's toes right now. So I said, I would appreciate if you would call the engineer and talk to their office, and if you don't get any satisfaction, just call me back on whether that's.
Yeah, it helps us because we can get accurate information, and sometimes the information they give you is not necessarily the information that we get. We go out and find, so it's just better, I think, and obviously you want to talk to constituents, I get that. So, but at the end, ask them to call the office, because then there's no. Like you guys get busy, you take a call, you forget to call us, or, it's just better that it's a better documentation trail anyway, when they call the office. So we fill out the request for maintenance and that kind of thing. And then if we need to issue a work order somewhere, we do that. So I'm all about accountability and documentation. So getting a call into the office is the first step in making that happen. So
And I try to send people when I get them, but I don't know if you experience this so far since I've been here, is congratulations, so-and-so needs gravel.
Yeah.
Whatever road needs gravel. That is like a resounding theme.
Yeah. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. There's always concerns, but again, for us to process all that stuff, we need to, the step is to come in the office, and that starts the process. I'm sure you're aware of what happened, with the tragedy in the engineer's office. So I'm going to try and talk to Becky and see what we need to do about that, and possibly for any kind of, grease services, that kind of thing. So I'll talk to her about that today. Thursday, I'll be back in here for the board with a budget presentation. And then I'm assuming you're aware, we had an emergency declared by the sheriff on New Year's Eve, and we went outside of normal. Our ordinance, which is county law, says we don't go out between the hours of 6 p.m. and 5 a.m. unless there's some kind of emergency declared, like medical or safety or loss of life. So I had a few conversations with the sheriff, and basically he made that emergency declaration, basically. So then we called our guys out to salt and sand the roads because of the icy conditions. That was an issue. So
We might do that. Should we put that out on the, alert system? That the co- that the
So there's
county
the
has?
EMS, Lynn set that up, is that correct, or?
Well, it's through the state, so if we have weather emergencies, a tornado coming, whatever, you can sign up and get alert systems through your phone. Anybody in the county can do that. You don't have to be like a county employee or nothing.
Yeah, so everybody gets a
warning, yeah, right.
So if it's gonna snow 6 inches, it'll pop up 3 times in a day, but the point is, it's nice for us to know if somebody calls us, is there emergency? I said, yes, stay home. I don't know.
yeah, so who would be the responsible part? Is that with Law Center, or who was?
So they could get, I don't know who all has
Dispatch that
access.
triggered that,
Um,
that puts out the actual alert.
I think it goes through our emergency
emergency
manager.
manager, I think Lynn would be your contact.
I agree, because if we're declaring an ice emergency or.
Well, and it just kind of warns people too, if they're inside, they may not have known that it was even getting to be bad
And
weather.
I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, so I guess my recommendation, so whoever does it for say
I'll have them contact.
tornadoes or whatever, it's consistent. So whoever issues those emergencies would issue it for ice
If it's
So-
or flooding or whatever.
declared by the sheriff, it's good.
Yeah.
No, it's-
If it's declared locally, we have to do it, but if it was like a national weather thing, then it comes from the DOT itself, but
Okay.
otherwise.
So you have Lynn get in touch with me, or Lynn just?
I'll have them touch base with you.
Okay.
They'll steer you in the right direction.
And that might actually be, I think, because the declaration actually comes from the sheriff. So as soon as he makes that, then the next step would be maybe the sheriff call Lynn or whoever needs to call.
I'm sure that Stacy and Mike and Jaden and them get these alerts on their, yes, they're all included, I don't know that.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I'm talking about posting the alert to everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever process we have for the local alerts that get posted already, we should use the same process for say a road emergency. is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
As an example, the day that we closed the courthouse. So once that decision was made to close the courthouse, then I did contact Lynn and said, send it out. Because, we were closing, I think that was around 10 o'clock. We made that declaration that at noon we're closing. And I want to say it went out close to 6,000 people, I think he told me.
I just saw, I know there
Yeah.
was a blizzard back before Christmas, but it was a tow ban, that if you go to the 511 app, it'll even tell you, okay, Jackson County, whatever, has a tow ban. To me, that's important information to know, so there are things that, and I said this on the city side too, is a lot of times we have this, but it's not utilized. to its fullest. If you're paying for it, you might as well use it.
Yeah,
And when people are out traveling or whatever, New Year's Eve, that's a huge travel day. And if there was an ice emergency enough to warrant calling out the assault spreaders and everything, you know.
yeah. And I think, so to me, like if the sheriff makes a declaration, I think like you guys make the declaration to close the office.
We did that day here, yes.
Yeah, so I guess whoever has authority to make that declaration would be the
Should be
one
when contacting him.
context, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Because otherwise, like if or somebody from the engineer's office, really, I hopefully it wouldn't be by mistake, but it really, we can't make the declaration, it's the sheriff that makes it. So,
And that would be a conversation we have with him, because I don't know who declares a tow ban, who declares an ice emergency.
Well,
But
I mean,
I
it
feel
was
as
a
a
case-
supervisor, if we're gonna spend money to go out and spread salt because ice, we should at least know that it's happening. Because, you know, Sunday, I was driving somewhere and I saw a county salt truck going by the livestock barn. Headed
It's like,
west.
I don't want a phone call at 4 in that they're going out.
No, but
Well,
text message or something.
I would say, I think if we're operating, and let me back
In
up.
your normal
If
hours.
we're
I don't
operating in our normal hours, with Sunday, if it was like between the hours of 5 AM and 6 PM. I would say that that's normal operations, that's no big deal, we do that, been doing that forever.
Okay.
This situation, I'm talking about the ice emergency where we went outside of normal hours,
Mhm.
and for us to do that, that is extra special, that only happens like once every 10, 20 years. That's the situation where the emergency had to be declared.
Okay.
So I would say for those things, those are extra special, like closing the office. You guys would want to know about, hey, the office would be being closed. Us going out and operating, plowing snow and salt and roads during our normal operations, I wouldn't think because then you're gonna get a message about every day.
No,
I don't want that.
no, but I think when emergencies are declared, that should.
I would agree. So you know, at least, hey, this is something extra special. There's an emergency being declared. And then we have a system of protocol in place. So I don't know if you want to have that on an agenda, I would maybe bring the sheriff in too. I don't know. But I'm not that familiar with how it happens when a emergency gets declared, but I think we need to have that discussion about what method or protocol makes the most sense, say in this situation to get notifications. So you get something on your phone or however you do it with when you close the offices.
yeah, I think you're right. We need a process, but I guess that situation, secondary roads, when there really no, unless they're out inspecting the roads. I mean, it so happened that there was several incidents in one spot that was really dangerous for the sheriff's office and,
So yeah, that's what I think. We don't know because if it's outside the hours, that's where the law enforcement comes into play because the sheriff is technically by the ordinance, the one who makes that declaration.
Right.
We would not, like I would not be, or the road foreman would not say, hey, we're gonna make an emergency declaration.
yeah.
You probably have to review the ordinance, but the ordinance stipulates who has the authority to do that, so.
I think that happened several years ago, if I remember, Mike. We started like at 4:30 in the morning with phone calls. So
Yeah.
we've been talking to sheriff's office. I think Roger was out. I think you and I were talking to each other. So, I mean, we do talk outside of normal hours, because I knew I was up that morning. I think it was about 4:30 that started, and I think we did close the courthouse that day. But we did have
Implement that, yeah. I would agree.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, like Clinton County has a protocol for closing the buildings. Do you guys have something like that? I can get that to you if you want. But it's like,
we locked the door.
no. Good one. No, for
Just here to
the
help you out.
decision making
Yeah.
process of who contact, like, because each supervisor contacts certain department heads and elected officials to let them know, like,
Kind of like the
It's
phone
the-
tree.
yes, exactly. But it also talks about who makes that decision, who they talk to, and then if it's decided, then this is how we communicate it out.
I
So
guess if we got that on an email, we'd like to read it anyway.
should I send it to Lisa?
I don't care, yeah. You
I'm
pass it
assuming
around-
you'd be the one that would.
Pass it around anyway.
You can send it to
We
me.
usually have it.
Take a look at it and we'll discuss it. How's that?
So if you would pass our condolences and thoughts and. Or on to the family and.
I will. I haven't heard for sure, but
If anybody's interested, the services are Friday afternoon at Key West.
okay, I've heard that, but they were checking the website. It wasn't up there.
It was in the paper this morning.
Paper, okay. Well, I don't read the paper. Sorry. Email. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah.
Nope, sad news.
Okay. that's all I
Anything
have.
else? All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Are there any visitors or citizens that would like to be heard at this point?
No, there's no sign here, so you're gonna have to.
I'll figure it out.
That's sometimes can you get your phone?
Yeah, let's go.
I
I'll
give it
email
to
it.
somebody
I'll
else.
email it. But yeah, don't give it up.
Yeah, no, I won't.
Next would be Arlene, and I have our recorder and Lori also from zoning. And discuss our digitizing our records that we've been discussing for.
Ever.
Oh, I would say
Morning.
for 6 months.
Okay, so since there's new board members, you have a packet of 4 different
I have several
documents.
packets.
Your special.
And I don't know if you guys had a chance to look through it at all, but if you have any questions, let me know, otherwise. I mean, this is
I
all
do have a
been
question.
presented before.
So, and this is for Lisa and everybody concerned here. I mean, I know we have gone through this several times as far as getting a quote for all the offices and putting them together. And Lisa has gotten a quote and you've gotten a quote for, and I appreciate that very much, doing the background checks and all the work on that. The part I read in there about 24/7. Do we, is this all gonna happen inside of your office?
No, it'll be in, like one of the community room or something like that, more than likely. Because they'll need a larger space to set up.
Well, it said 16 by 18 or 14 by 18 or something, whatever it said. So do we need security here 24/7?
Well, that would be a question.
Well,
At the time that they came here and I visited with Rhonda, it was decided at that time that I would offer one of our secured rooms for them to do this process, that it would not be held in a community room or in the conference room, that we would allow them space in our confidential room. And they were not concerned about security. Because after 4 o'clock, 4:30, when the doors lock. So I had
I would-
offered them our space.
I would tend to agree. So your space.
Yeah.
And tell me where that is.
One of the 3 rooms downstairs.
Oh, okay. So I guess that was my concern, is somebody had to be here or they don't have any access to everything else is locked up, so that if they're comfortable with 24/7 thing,
Well, that way they bring 4 people in.
I didn't know if we'd be required for security. That was my question.
I'm not sure that I can have see, we've got state auditors coming too. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here that people don't understand, that people have monthly meetings in these rooms and so it was just easier for the ease of them to say, I would allow them to use one of our 3 election rooms to set up their machines to get this done.
So when they scan these documents in, what happens to the document? Once there's an electronic form somewhere, what happens to the actual physical document?
Okay, well, we won't discard it by any means. It was
What's the
just,
point of digitizing
it
if you're
would-
gonna keep it?
it would be just stored, or eventually maybe we could give it to the historical society or something. But we have a vault downstairs with books in that we have already indexed and scanned.
Okay, so like all the books in your office, once they're scanned, they'll go down in the.
They very easily could, yes. As a recorder, it's hard to throw things away. Okay.
But
Been here too long, so.
well, I'm just saying, if we're gonna have this, major expense in digitizing all this, what's the point of the expense if we're not gonna gain any more space? Watching the meetings in the last year, the biggest thing I hear about is office space, office space, office space, office space. You spend $150,000-$200,000 digitizing all those books. And they sit in the same space.
To me, office space is one of the least important reasons for doing it.
Okay.
It's for retention.
Okay.
It's for security. That we're always going to have them once they're digitized. And once they're digitized, then they're put, as far as my office, they're put into our vision program, which is our indexing program, so that they're accessible to anyone through eventually Iowa land records, through our public access terminals, that sort of thing. So we're not gonna lose them. They're not gonna get destroyed in fire. It's a permanent record.
I think a little bit of other history on it, this all come about, we are gonna use ARPA funds, but that's what, because of the fact that that's when the ARPA funds are given to us. Some of it was for the fact that people don't have to come into the courthouse, touch the books and physically touch them and have these people. You can go get this information now without going into the office and opening the book.
I get all that, and just like, once you make a digital copy, at what point in time to the physical copy, it's kind of become irrelevant. Or,
Well, since 1997, we no longer have hard copies for almost all our records. It's all indexed in. So,
We're trying to catch up with the old records, and I don't know how often you use them, but they have to be available.
well, Janet was in last week and there were two things she was researching and she was back to the 1800s. I said, okay, you need to tell Mike Steinus that.
That's two out of 20 years, no.
Not 20 years.
And if we didn't have,
They do
and
have
if
to
we
go
didn't
back.
have it, they'd go ask the Almighty and see where it happened, or what. So if we didn't have that information, what would happen?
Well, they wouldn't be
We
able,
don't have it.
they wouldn't be able to prove who owns the property.
Well, then you go back 40 years for a new title and start over.
so once the
people
books,
wanted rid of
once the
title.
books in your office are digitized, will I go to the closet? Or you,
Well, yeah, there's no reason to keep them upstairs anymore, no. And eventually. Someone younger might be willing to get rid of them.
So,
We're
They
gonna
are-
be a little different. We're not gonna save anything that we don't have a paper copy. But there will probably be some things that are in code that we do have to save, which we would, but anything we don't have to have a paper copy of, we would purge. For us.
And you have to keep in mind, Don, that what US Imaging is going to do for our office, they're going to image the records, which is huge. And then they're gonna give us a brief indexing with just like book and page, file number, and filing date. And then Solutions will pull that into our vision software.
Okay.
But then myself and my employees still have to complete the index for each document. So it's not like, once they're done imaging, we just throw those books away. We have to go in and index, make sure the image is a clear image. And eventually, as we do that, then we can put those books somewhere else or different one.
now you're arguing that you're gonna duplicate what we're paying somebody to do.
No,
Or
no.
at least verify.
No. The
They're
index,
gonna basically put it in and.
they're
and
gonna
you're
give,
gonna go through and.
they're gonna give 3 entities. But that's not all the searchable forms we have in our office. Grantor grantee is very important in order to search for a document. So we have to complete the indexing once they're done with what they do.
So they're gonna give you the base skeleton. And you just
Uh-huh.
have to
And
calculate
Solutions
that.
will pull it into our system and then we'll pull up the image and pull up the indexing and finish indexing the document.
So your staff has enough to do that, or would that be an extra person?
We've been working on that since 2006 when I took over.
Okay, I'm
So
just trying to.
it's a very timely thing to do. But it
so
needs to
in
be
your
done.
packet that she has there's some quotes in there, and it shows us phase 1, 2, and 3 on the numbers page. And then below that, there's an optional services. Do you feel, what number are you looking at? Do you feel them optional services are required?
I think they're very important. So that when we are indexing and looking at the
I think it's the
images,
second last page down.
we're not gonna come upon numerous images that are not clear. Or indexing that wasn't done correctly. In our office, whenever a document comes in, it's entered, it's proofed, and it's proofed again. We have to make sure our records are correct.
So you're proposing This digitizing with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and stage 2, and stage 3.
The 146, 780,
Okay,
188.
that's what you're proposing.
Yep, plus the solutions fee to pull it.
I'm sorry, 146, 781.
146, 780,
How much is the
188.
solutions fee to pull it in?
It's on a separate sheet for you. It's 13,950.
Oh, it's
The last time I double checked was in September, because like I said, this has been ongoing, so.
Lori, what's your quote?
$25,259.18.
That's your, that's meant, Lori.
Yes, and for us, Bruce's been able to dig. We found out, oh gosh, it's probably the first week of November. Wait, no, it was right after she started. I had just a little more time on my hands. I was able to actually do some digging in files on my desktop from previous zoning administrators. And I ran across a letter from a previous zoning administrator, a letter reference regarding another employee, just stating that, you know, how they've been scanning decades worth of documents. And I'm like, where are they? So we found out that we do have some of our records scanned. There's some things that we are not maybe finding in paper or digital retention at this point. We're still, you know, finding things as we go. So yes, we definitely need to go forward with this, although I'm not, you know, maybe the money could be dedicated up to that $25,259.18 for our department for the US imaging fee. I don't have a solutions fee. I didn't know I needed to look that up or get that information from them. But we still, I'm not convinced that we need everything that's in those drawers scanned anymore. I'm not convinced that some of the down there that she quoted us on has not been done.
Okay, well, I mean, we've been kicking this can for quite a while. I'd like to move forward with it myself. We talked about having departments doing it together, so we maybe can get a break on it, you know.
Have they offered us a break if we go in as a
It would just be like, they have different things within their. What do they call them, travel?
so that that's on
Travel.
stage one.
Traveling setup, it's gonna, I'm sure that. Have you asked for that, Lisa, because we were talking about that one day. If that
I
was
did not,
an issue.
I've been visiting with her, but that was not a question that, yeah, no, I have not gotten an answer on that.
Because I can't believe that they would. Because they're coming once
Right.
to set up,
Well,
well, that charges. on
So,
it.
yeah, and I agree with you, Lori, whatever you think is suffice to get done over there, I would have to take your lead on that at your office to come up with what you want done and how much you want done.
Yeah, well,
I
we
don't
want
like to-
everything that's not done.
Right, I get it. And until you find out what is done, yeah, I understand that.
But would we be able to dog ear up to the amount that's requested and then us keep digging and trying to find out what we actually need? Because what she quoted everything down there that was in boxes and drawers on a desk that was put in boxes. And I believe, Ruth, correct me, you've been through there more than I have. Like the folders that are on the desk. So basically anything that's been from 2019 on is scanned, even though those folders were still down there.
One question I have is, you said some of this was previously scanned, and we're finding, trying to figure out exactly what it was. Is it compatible, or will it be compatible with what they're doing here, and will they match? Or will you have compatibility issues because they did it different than they're doing?
I don't believe so. So basically we have them on PDF. And that'll be what solutions can load into.
I guess my question is where do you want, in the end result, where do you want your records to be?
Someplace usable.
So is it gonna be, so the question for me is, in visiting with solutions, is it gonna be on what we call the parcel layer of the vision system? Which would mean that the auditor, recorder, assessor, zoning can all look at that. Is that what your end result you want to be?
That would be ideal.
Okay.
Totally ideal.
At some point, when we go through all this digitalization, make it accessible for anything. I would like us to look at the current website, so this is picking probably another stab or something, because as somebody was listening to things over the last year, trying to find the ordinance or whatever to kind of understand what they're talking about, is near impossible. And so I would like to somehow find a way to make our website have this information more accessible, user friendly. So that to me is more of a longer run goal I have, but digitizing all this is one thing. Trying to make it accessible through our website is gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother
Issue,
Yeah.
another learning curve.
whole nother issue here.
But
Well, I think it's a huge cost for one thing, and that's why, I mean, I've asked about it in the past. And recorders have Iowa land records, which you can be a user to use it to search for our records on Iowa. But it would be great if we could eventually have it on our county website.
Baby steps. I mean, it's coming to that. We know it's coming to that.
Digitizing it and getting it in that format, and I don't know what your searchable entities would be, but you know, once that's done, then we can just have it.
I'm hoping to go.
when this first started, the bids quotes for everybody was what?
They were, well, I don't know how far I'm gonna go back, but they were, I would say 40,000 more than that. I mean, when you redid the whole thing.
It was 2 something
Yeah.
first time, and then they had duplication that I cut. And then I put
241, 727.
Well, it's
So it's
between the
been
146, 781, 88, the 25, 220, 250, 918, and 13, 950. That to me adds up to 185, 991, 06.
Just not to stop you, Don, but the quote that I received is for $19,132.23 for US imaging. And what that does is it
That's
will,
on top.
it needs to be, so there's actually 3 quotes that you're looking at. And the reason,
19,000.
correct, $19,132.23. And what this is just 4 transfer books. It was my understanding, my first quote was also to do some old supervisors minute books, but it was determined that that was not necessary. So we went back, I visited with them, and they have taken those books out of the quote. They are downstairs in what we call the book room. They're on a shelf. And we've decided, I think the previous board decided not to do that they couldn't justify the cost. So my scanning quote is just 4 transfer books. And I think there's some old road record books that this is basically an estimate is what I was told, because some of these books are this thick, but they maybe only have this much digitizing that'll need to be done. So it's just an estimate, and we will only pay for what they do. So if they think that there's 600 pages in a book, but they only scan 100, they're only gonna charge us for 100, not for the 6.
Arlene, you have a solutions fee of 13,950. You do these, do you have a solutions fee too, that would be on top of it?
I will have a solutions fee, but I went back, I can't find my quote. I was thinking it was right around 2,500.
And I have no
So-
idea. I didn't know that was part of.
So, but your
the process.
quote would probably be worst case scenario for what you've done. What was yours?
Other, 25,000,
29,259.
correct. And that's without a solutions fee.
The
Anyway.
solution, off Arlene's, it says it's a 1450 base price. You know, remember that, plus 10 cents per page. Not to, it says not to exceed 1250, 12.5. But top, there's a change.
Did they give you any kind of time frame if we decide to?
Oh, boy, Mike, that's been months ago.
I know.
I think, no, it was days, like 10 days or something. It's in the quote.
No, from when they would start.
No, I haven't contacted her. Because I think there's no reason to. Unless it gets approved.
So right now,
So
if we
if we
figure in our liens, that's another 19,132.3, that brings it to 205, 123.29 without the $2,500. $2,500 every month.
So I guess what probably Don's trying to say is if we're gonna approve something, are we approving a certain number or do we the digitizing as a whole with an estimate of this?
That's what I was.
That's what
That would be mine.
I mean, that's what we're at.
There's still quite
Is
a
that
few
what you're saying
variables.
there, Don? I mean,
Right now,
Total.
you include the solution fee at $2,500, that estimate puts us at 207,623.29. I'm assuming your information to be digitized is more online, so the bulk of yours. You know, the auditors and the zoners are probably more equivalent, so I would assume you're probably gonna have a $2,500. Now, the quote for 201 back 6 months ago, did that include everybody?
No,
Or was that just yours?
that was just starting.
So
Everybody, is that almost?
for the quote of the one, I mean, and we have this in the ARPA funds, this is an allotted expense. Are we within what we thought it would be, the estimate?
Yeah.
So this doesn't come out of the taxpayer's
No.
pocket at all?
No, we've set money aside as, I guess,
Earmark.
earmarked. I can't say because everything, I mean, we had talked about projects and such
I
and
just don't want,
yeah.
I want to be able to say when people go, you're spending
No.
$210,000 to do this, it's not from property taxes. It has
No.
nothing to do with money coming
No.
out.
No, right away, that was put into our ARPA uses, I guess is a good way to put it, is that when they were deciding, oh gosh, year and a half ago. Yeah, we set aside money, we talked about it, and there was money earmarked for digitizing. So it does fall within the estimate of what we had at that point.
Knowing that you're probably gonna have a solutions fee of somewhere around $2,500, and right now we're in the bill of 207,600. I would make a motion that we approve the digitization up to 210,000. That would give a little bit of room to add your solutions fee.
Probably, and I didn't see what this is 160 total and 6,700. 125, so I guess if that's where we fall.
If nothing else, just approve the US imaging quote and we can come back with a better solutions quote if you'd like, just so we can get going.
Otherwise, you could make the motion as an estimate.
That's what. And then you can get more final numbers. I'm making a motion that we approve up to 210,000 for the estimate of the digitization. Pay for it.
I will second the motion.
That is both the US imaging and the solutions. Do they have to be set?
I have a motion and second to approve the digitizing as presented with up to $210,000 as expenses as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
You have no idea. Thank you.
All right then. Guess we're right on schedule. Next, on the agenda is Becky Chapin, our Human Resource Administrator. Good morning.
Morning.
This is easy compared to that.
I'm sorry.
I said this will be easy compared to that.
No, not.
No. So I am here today because we have had our county recorder and county treasurer reelected for subsequent terms. And they have, in line with that, reappointed their deputies to serve alongside of them. This board does not consider nor appoint officials for other elective offices, but by code, you do approve other elective offices, appointments of certificates for their deputies, their assistants in place. So we have deputies in the recorder's office, the treasurer's office, as well as the clerk in the treasurer's office. And then we as well had a sheriff's deputy that was serving his 9-month probation, which his certificate will expire this month. So he needed the new certificate to carry him through the end of the sheriff's term. So our process is to have the certificates of appointment aligned with the elective office terms of office. So I need motions to approve and authorize the chair to sign the following certificates of appointments. We have recorder deputies Jennifer Jones and Amy Wills. Treasurer deputies Deb Stillmunkus, Rebecca Kutch, Bruce Rohusky, Caleb Coakley, and Heather Whitman, and then a treasurer clerk Jennifer Schwager, and then our sheriff deputy Daniel Blake. And those will all be effective through the end of the office's terms.
So what about the auditor?
They're on her term, so her term they expire, hers is through 24, January 25. So these are just because the treasurer and the auditor have been reelected, and then the sheriff's deputy is on that.
A motion and a second to approve the certificates of appointment as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
So that actually totals like 18 of them because they get a copy and we get a copy, so I'll leave them with you, Mike, as chairperson, you get to sign them all. And then you can bring it back to me. And you will see that the elected officials started filling some of them out, which they actually do them after we approve them, so don't, you don't have to pay attention to that, they're not all completed, but.
Luann, did you get my stamper yet?
Well, we normally have a wet signature on them. And that was it for me, but I will chime in unless you guys have a question about that. I do want to chime in.
Sure.
Just because going through offices of changeover of elected officials, our health administrator, our zoning administrator, and working with their records and trying to find records in the interim, this is invaluable. I mean, eventually we'll get it out there for the public, I think, but as far as like me, not knowing anything about zoning or health, or when we have changed over offers and trying to find what they did with their documents, knowing that we can get them in like one repository, so to speak, where they all kind of tie together, and using like zoning as an example. When somebody comes in for a zoning permit, they may need a driveway permit, they get a 911 address, they have all of these things attached to that property address or parcel, and they're not anywhere centrally located. So finding the zoning stuff, like she said, we found out that those images were scanned. A lot of them are scanned to email, but not saved. So 10 years ago, we got somebody's email, and we didn't save them. You know, so I know it's a huge expense, and it's great that we have other things to cover that, but it's very valuable.
I just know with the zoning, if it was done, so however many years ago,
Yeah.
compatibility with software and things like that, it would almost be better just to do it all in the same platform, the same everything.
And actually, when they talk about solutions migrating that into our vision program, they use our PDF documents. We did it for all. So all of the images, like right now, the health department, before Elizabeth was here, they paid a different company to scan all of their records, and they're on a little hard drive right now. Well, they're on our network now, but eventually, once we figure out how to tie all these records together, those will go with it as well. But they're able to work out PDFs and move them. And I assume that's the format we're going to get all these records from. But Vision can make them work to tie them to our programs.
I can't imagine how valuable it would be if each office can just go to a platform somewhere and
Like
find that
you
record.
understand as real
Instead of
estate.
walking out the door and down the hall and
If you pull
this
up a
is what I
parcel,
need. Well, I don't know where.
if you pull up a parcel, you can see if it's been permitted. You know, if the assessor's office is out assessing, they should be able to pull it up and see if they actually have a permit for that. I mean, a lot of times the catch is when they file a permit with the zoning office, the assessor's office is like, oh, we need to go out and assess that because we don't have a building permit for a building code requirement, so they don't necessarily know that somebody's building to assess it. So to me, it's very valuable, and I appreciate this, well, you know, it wasn't necessarily that, but yeah, welcome.
Just a little FY. You know, we talked all the time about how much paper we had downstairs in the basement, and I had estimated 150 boxes. About, what is that, 3 weeks ago now? Yeah. So we contracted with Dittmer Recycling. We had the truck show up on the east side of the courthouse here. We loaded 5,448 pounds of paper and had it confidentially shredded. That's just a very small portion of the paper that's in this building. And it was $400. I thought that was a steal. We were very organized. We were very organized with everything, and we probably had at least 150 boxes of anything from ballots to, there was some general assistance, there were some mental health records. I mean, you just can't imagine that the basement is still full. I can't imagine taking out that much, and we still have a lot more to go. but at least we started the process.
Then hopefully we can catch up with some of the stuff.
And as far as I know that you've heard for months and months and months, we did have our sale of our excess equipment downstairs in the basement. Everything that people wanted, they bid on, everything has been paid for. That money has been deposited in the treasurer's office. It did come back to the supervisors, so you'll show that as an income in your department. And it's just now up to Marty to get rid of stuff. So we're in the process. How much should I have gotten?
I am not.
Not the paper they had. What?
Well, you're close. You're close. I got $124.
Okay, all right.
I got $124, so. So anyway, we're done with that project and on to the next one.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Lisa, are you
I am.
available?
So I just, this morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 3rd, 2023 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorize publication in the official newspapers.
So moved.
Have a motion and second to approve the minutes of the January 3rd board proceedings as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
I need,
Carried.
I'm sorry, I need a motion to accept, place on file the county recorder's report of fees collected for the month of December 2022 in the amount of $38,960.59.
Second.
Good question, though. That was down a little bit. I have a motion and a second to approve the reporter's fees collected as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
If you got questions.
No, I didn't see this on. That's just the registration.
Yeah. I also need a motion to approve resolution number 937-01-10-2023 to amend the resolution. I'll have that. To amend resolution 928-11-22-2022 to correct the amount of money owed for the Leisure Lake Special Assessment for collection in the treasurer's office. The process, when it comes to Leisure Lake, and this is a very long process, a project was done up there through Iris to put in a sanitary wastewater sewer system. People do not pay their bills. So we get notice from ECIA/Iris to put these payments on the taxes. We prepared this resolution back in November of last year. In the meantime, someone paid their taxes. They paid this assessment of $478. We received a check. The problem is that the way that the original resolution was written was for 2 lots. The assessor's office combined it into 3 lots into 1 parcel letter, and we have tried to work every way imaginable. We've talked to our software company about how we can receipt this money in, and the best solution to this is why I'm asking for the amendment to the original resolution. Once you do this, we're going to take that $478 assessment off, and we're going to send a check back to Iris or ECIA, so they can clear the account where we can't do it here. It's just a really a fluke thing that happened, and our software provider, again, is Solutions, and this is how they advised us to correct this and to get this person's delinquent account paid up. And that's why I'm asking for this to be passed today.
Yeah, and I certainly think that you certainly know how behind the scenes what's going on here and
Yeah.
what the best solution is.
Yeah.
This is the best solution.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution 937-01-10-2023. Amending resolution 928-11-22-2022 as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And that's all that I have for the board today.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
Well, you're turning the hot seat.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll start with the easy part, the calendar for the week. Tomorrow, Wednesday, January 11th at 9 AM is Mike's turn on Can You Just Talk.
I'm not so sure it's my turn.
I think
was
it
there-
is your turn.
I was there in November.
What's that, right here in the picture?
I've been busy. I just made an executive decision, just stuck you in there, so. Thursday, January 12th, starting at 10 o'clock, we will have budget work sessions in here. To 3:30, whenever we get done, and I have several people on the schedule, several departments on the schedule, but we can adjust and add to that as we need to. Monday, January 16th at 3 PM is the compensation board meeting. That's not usually attended by any of you, but it's usually of intense interest to the media. Also at 3 o'clock that afternoon is a meeting of the Mental Health and Disability Services Governing Board meeting in Davenport, and I put it on here only in, I know you're the alternate for it, so that's just so you know when it is, but I think Jack is planning to go, so. 6 o'clock, Monday the 16th is a Together We Build meeting. They usually meet, they've been meeting at the Farm Bureau building, and we did not actually make an appointment last week for a supervisor to attend those meetings, but it is a county building that we are building, and any of you can attend that want to. So I don't know if somebody wants to be a regular on that or not.
I will. I'm interested in it.
Are you on the fair board yet, then too?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I mean, I think that would tie in, I mean, we get the minutes and we get regular updates from Dean or whoever.
I think that was one that Jack was just on.
Yeah, Jack was on it.
Right, yeah, that's, we never made an appointment, I think, exactly.
So I would assume he's still on.
Right. But I'll gladly attend them, so.
Well, I'll just make sure that you know when the meetings are,
Right.
and if you want to
Thank you.
go. Also on Monday at 7 PM is the Jackson County Zoning and Planning Commission meeting downstairs in the community room, and that's also for any of you that want to attend that, but it's not required.
Is there agenda for that yet or not?
I don't usually
Or
get
what's
the
it-
agenda for that, but
is it
sometimes
on something specific on the agenda for that? I will touch base.
it's usually on, she usually posts on the website.
Yeah.
But I can check with Ruth and see if we have an agenda for that. Okay, our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, January 17th at 9 AM. That evening, I don't have any meetings scheduled, but I think it'll be a travel afternoon night for Don and Lynn to be heading out to Des Moines. So I put packets on your desk with your hotel confirmation numbers and the agenda for the agendas for the 2 days out there, and the address is in there.
Thank you.
So if you have anything else, you can let me know, but should be a fun couple of days.
Information, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to interact and. It's, I think it's well worth the time spent just to touch base and rub some shoulders and,
The networking is fabulous at these things.
yeah, get involved. All right, I appreciate
How
it.
about, I got a thing here saying you want to discuss about snowfall before the next snowfall. Will we do
Well,
that now?
we have a lot of things on.
We have a few things to do maybe before that, but yes, I would like to discuss that. I start off today with appointments. I have several resignations that I need the supervisors to accept. And I'll just go through them one at a time. To accept the resignation with regrets of Joanne Cavan from the Pioneer Cemetery Commission after 25 years.
So moved, and I would say with admiration, because she served a long time with a lot of influence and effect, and she's done an amazing job.
She was one of the original ones on the Pioneer Cemetery Commission. And that is also true for the second resignation.
Are
As
we
we
doing
do.
this one at a time?
One
like
at a
you said?
time. I'll
Do we need to do one at a time, Lisa?
I'm okay with you doing it one at a time. I mean,
Or do you want me to read them all and then just have them accept, but
I have them as individual motions.
Okay, I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resignation again with regrets, highly regrets. of Joanne Kevin from Pioneer Cemetery. She was original and she really got the ball rolling on that and did a lot of work. So, I mean, she was consistent. I think we can't give her enough credit. I don't think. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
I'm also looking for you to accept the resignation with regrets of Jeanette Cruz from the Pioneer Cemetery Commission after 25 years. She was also one of the originals and she resigned actually back in June. So
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Jeanette Cage from the Pioneer Cemetery, again with high regrets. For the work they have done, we sure appreciate that, what they've done for us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carried.
I'm also looking to have you accept the resignation of Joan Kilberg from the Pioneer Cemetery Commission after a year and a half.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Jean Kilbert.
Yes.
From the Pioneer Cemetery, again, we thank her
Jean,
for,
it's Jean. My eyes are not good this morning, so it's Jean.
thank her for her service. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
I'm also looking to have you accept the resignation of Pam DeMoss from the Board of Health. And she has been on that for 24 years.
I will make that motion and yes, she will be a loss.
Second.
A motion and a second to accept the resignation of Pam DeMoss from the Board of Health. Again, we want to thank her for her time served and appreciate everything she's done for the county. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
I'm also looking to have you accept the resignation of Milt Cornelius as an Andrew benefited fire district trustee after 18 years. He also said between that and being on the fire department, it was a total of some 50 some years, so.
So
Now second that.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Milton Cornelius from the Andrews Benefited Fire District as presented. Again, we want to thank him for his time and service that he's done over the years for this organization. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carried.
So on these, do we send out like a letter of appreciation?
Certificate of appreciation, yes, I will get those done. Right after I get you guys off to do officer school.
Get this out of her hair.
It's been a little while around here, so. Okay, then there are some appointments I'm looking to have approved this morning. The first one is to the Board of Health to replace or to take Pam DeMoss's spot with an expiration of 12/31/2025. I had one application come in. And then I had two other people who called about applying for the position, but I've only received the one application. And it needs to be done at this meeting because Elizabeth needs it done before next week. So I guess I'm thinking we should appoint the one application that we had.
So we can certainly tell who that application is, correct?
Yes, Sarah Davenport.
So Sarah has applied for the position for the Board of Health. Certainly has history with the county. Certainly knows part of it.
So on positions like this, are these advertised positions or does it have to be posted or? Are there two people that have called? How did they know it was available or they just?
It was, I posted one single notice for the vacancies that we had on the boards in the county.
Okay.
And I usually try to do that a little earlier, but it was done in December. And I got 2 phone calls in the last couple of, or I got 1 email and 1 phone call in the last couple of weeks. But they did not send it. I told them we need to do it now because Elizabeth needs it on the Board of Health. And I did not get any other
So that it
applications.
hasn't been a day or two, it's been a couple of weeks.
Oh, yes,
Oh, so like
mid-December, yes. It's from mid-December, yes.
They called mid.
It was in the paper, though.
It was in the paper.
It was in the paper in mid-December, yeah.
When did they call it?
last week. No. It might have been the week of Christmas that I got a couple of emails from them. And I told them, I said, I'm happy to have you apply, but I need it right away because we.
Is
need
there
it.
the application online or do they have to come in and get the application?
But they didn't, I sent them applications when I emailed them back. Along with the duties and responsibilities, kind of my little cheat sheet as to what's required for the position, because one asked, how much time does it take? So I have a little cheat sheet for each board that says how long where the terms expire, what the requirements are, and the code section with the reference that set that board up.
What is the decision for the board?
I would make the motion that we appoint Sarah Davenport.
I would second that.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Sarah Davenport to the Board of Health expiring 12/31 of 25. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
And if you want to see who else is on the board, I try to put that list in your packet so you can see who else is in there.
Which is part of that same directory that I handed out last week. So that's,
I'm trying to get more consolidated. We're not there yet.
yeah, we're working on it.
We have a lot of them this time of year,
Yeah.
so. Also before I continue, historic preservation, I have had, from the 12 members on that board, I have had 4 resignations in the past month. All for different reasons. So, I think I put some information or sent it to you, to be looking for historic preservation commission members as well.
So that means
So-
how many?
At least 8. At least 8. I'm not sure why they have 12, but that's dictated by code as well. So they barely have enough for a quorum at this point, but it is important if you want grants and things for building preservation and restoration in the county, it has to go through our preservation commission.
Well, we certainly hope that somebody steps forward and wants to participate in that, so. I mean, all we can do is try. See what we get, otherwise we'll have to start soliciting and making phone calls.
Yeah, see you anytime.
Got anybody in mind, certainly mention it to them. If there's an interest.
Okay. The next appointment I'm looking for is to the Pioneer Cemetery Commission. 2 people whose terms will expire at 12/31 of 2024. 2 women actually, which is important because we needed gender balance on that board to be maintained. Rosemary Knable and Judy Kuhn. So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Rosemary Knable and Judy Kuhn to the Pioneer Cemetery Commission. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
All
And we
right.
thank them for serving.
And one interesting thing about the commission is that that's one of those where you actually do go out and do the work days in the cemetery. So
Oh, yeah.
let you out and get kind of sweating in the summertime. That's a good commission to be on. So
I'm just gonna reiterate in case anybody's listening, I don't know, if you've not been to one of them cemeteries, I think read down, that's what it's going to. And especially our Jackson County. I'm trying to say.
Under Andrew Jackson Camp,
County home, yes,
Andrew
at the
Jackson
county home.
facility.
right.
Yeah.
They've really done a nice job with that. I
Yeah.
was a part of that a little bit, but no, they really look nice. And even the one north of Baldwin there too,
Mhm.
they put a new road in there and it's accessible and it's, I mean, they have respect for the people and the history that's there, so they do a nice job.
At some point, we can look at, if we struggle to get volunteers for historic preservation. You look at what the Pioneer Cemetery is doing, is preserving a lot of the history of Jackson County. And you have historic preservation, if you're having trouble to fill 2 boards that kind of somewhat deal with the same thing. Is it possibility through code or whatever to combine them? And, I mean, that's something that can be looked at because
Absolutely.
a lot of times they're working with the same things. So it's something we can do as well.
Okay. I'm also looking for an appointment as an Andrew benefited fire district trustee to replace Milton Cornelius. One person whose term will expire 12/31/2025, and that is Erin Johnson. And I believe I haven't got back and double checked, but she will be the very first female trustee on that for that fire district. But that will give us gender balance then on that fire district.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Aaron Johnson to the Andrew Benefited Fire District as trustee. And I do believe she'll do a great job, so all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Milt just gave me her phone number. I I tried to call her and it's like, I really want to make sure that you want to do this, and he just didn't give me your phone number and sign you up, so
No,
she was okay with that.
she's
Okay.
busy, I will say that.
She is, yes. The next action I need is we need to set the annual meeting date for the Green Island Drainage District. And I would like to propose that we do it after our regular meeting on Tuesday, January 31st.
Is that soon enough?
Did you see that
Did
there
you
was,
change?
did you see there was an email this morning?
Written.
Yeah,
He
so
said
he
he can't
can't-
come till February, but
Yeah.
he said, don't wait for it.
yeah, so I was just bringing that out. I
Right.
mean, so yes, he's not available until February 14th. And then on, so it's up to the board, but yes, I mean,
Right,
he would not be, I think the last year that I can see that he zoomed in, so.
right. And
Yeah.
we always check with the DNR, him and Kurt, Kemmerer, to make
Yeah.
sure that they can make the meetings. We try to set it up and, but we can do for the 31st, or we can wait until February, but
Yeah.
Roger's already been in here asking, so,
Doesn't surprise me.
right, yeah, he's always on top of that, so.
I guess that is soon enough, correct?
And just what's a brief synopsis of the Green Island Drainage District?
So I don't know how you to it. I mean, it's always been three different districts, the lower, the upper, and the Mooney Hollow district. And to my knowledge, Don, it was basically to keep and maintain and repair the levees on the Macocata River. So some of that has changed. It was in the upper one when there was a breach. And the DNR and I don't know who was all involved. I know.
You're
some-
correct, the core.
I know some of the
Yes.
history,
Yeah.
but they come to the conclusion that it was not feasible to repair this breach and have it run around, just let it come straight to where it was coming, where it was breached. I think in the process, the DNR had made a proposal to buy out a lot of the individuals that were in that district or in that floodplain, I should say, whatever it might be. And I think they all did but one.
They're still continuing some sales. A sale just happened here at the end of December.
So this was back, I forget how long ago. there
This was
some
after the Delphi Dam
meetings
break, yeah.
About people wanting to know why.
Mm, It wasn't getting repaired.
So, yeah.
The Corps is not going to give anybody any permits to repair the breach. That's really what it comes down to, is the Corps is saying you can't get a permit to repair the breach.
And they've done their studies and they've
Yeah.
done the flow and they've done all the above work and they have, the DNR and the Corps have basically said. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And of course, there's one individual that's really upset about that, but that's not our decision at that point either, so. But there's money there now. There's three different districts and I think they're talking about maybe getting rid of the lower district.
It's time that I believe, as an auditor, it's time that we discuss the funding and the money that they have. They have a significant amount of money. If they were to dissolve the
In the
district,
lower district,
in-
not the Moon Hollow.
yeah, Mooney Hollow only has $1,000 a year assessment. So that's really, and they kind of did some internal borrowing of money to get a project done, and they're in the repayment process. They're probably down to 2,500 or so left on that repayment, but there is a significant amount of money that has been invested in a bank CD that I believe we need to talk about because it's been there for a very long time. If they were to dissolve the district, that money would have to be divided amongst the current property owners, which for the bulk is probably the state of Iowa. And as they keep buying more property and these people are paying into it, they would not receive their money back.
Do I understand correctly, years ago when this was organized, or what I should say, when it come about, did the property owners also put money into this?
Like recently or like back in the
No,
30s?
Back, yeah.
Oh.
when
I couldn't tell you that for sure.
As far as maintenance to the levee.
I know that this is handled differently than other drainage districts in the state of Iowa.
And is it Mr. Fromm that gave a pretty good explanation, I believe, one year at the meeting, and there'll be, Kirkheimer will be there probably.
Yeah.
If you want some questions answered, that would be the time maybe to.
Yeah.
get the history and the.
Yeah.
We have to have the meeting, all that's basically what we're saying.
Mhm. So the point of that meeting then is, yes, you'll discuss last year. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Last year, the big deal was about beavers and beaver dams. That was a big discussion last year, that there was a concern, and so that'll be discussed. I mean, they'll be talking about the levees and mowing and tree growth and how to get rid of that. They'll also discuss what the assessment will be for the coming year. And then they'll elect watchmen that when it does flood, those people are responsible. I think that's a good way to put it for, if something needs to be done, those watchmen. Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They inspect and they make, recommendations.
Yep. They make
They'll
decisions.
have to
Yep.
go out for bids, if something needs to be repaired and.
Yeah. Yep.
And all that is put into the Army Corps. Like as far as repairs and all that stuff. because it's one of those
Well-
things that-
Getting permits is the problem.
Right. Veterans like that.
Excuse me.
What's the wishes of the board? Motion a second to have the annual date for the Green Islands Drainage District meeting be on the 31st of January
11 o'clock.
at 11 o'clock.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Will that be here?
That will
It'll be in this
information
office.
and community room.
It'll be in this office.
I would hope that it's here so we can
Zoom it.
Zoom it again. Have the Zoom option in case
Here.
in here. I would
Okay.
like to have it in
That-
here.
That would be good.
Yes.
It worked well last
The
year.
owl worked so down there.
Yeah, we're gonna try. Again, we had it in here last year. That was so we could record it and, and people can zoom in.
Well, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, so,
I will certainly put that on the calendar.
I will put it in your
Several
calendar.
times.
I am not used to the new calendar yet, so I'll make a few changes. and
We
see
are
if I-
not either. I think it's going
Is
fine.
it, if you're gonna get 3 or 4 times, just delete it once or twice. It's gonna be fine. I don't know what that is.
Thorough.
Thorough, yes. Better twice or 3 times than not at all, right? So. I would like to talk a little bit about parking. The last time we had a snowstorm coming and I sent out my usual notice, I got a lot of phone calls. And we need to talk about that. What, we have done in the past, for the past several years, is when there is plowable snow expected, which Marty calls half an inch. Then I will tell everybody, notify everybody in the morning, hopefully, to not park in the courthouse parking lot overnight or overnight the next day. So they have time to clean up anything that didn't get cleaned up the first night. Our alternatives for parking has always been to go up to the lot south of the library. That lot works fine. I can park either on the west side or on the east side. And I coordinate that with Frank Ellens so that he knows what I've told him. I copy him on this email. But that gives us a maximum of 9 spots up there. And there's usually more people than that want to park up there. I do know that when I send out the notice, secondary roads will hopefully take 4 of those parking spots immediately. I don't know if they should. That was years, well, that's the question, but years ago, we had an agreement with the city. And they had assigned parking spots up there. That was when Osterhouse still was downtown and had their staff over there. So it's an old agreement. It needs to be talked about again. So do we want to change it? Do we want to have permits for those parking spots? And that's only one of the questions, because the other question about what about this corner lot, this new corner lot over here that we just acquired? The city is not willing to plow that until we get rid of the concrete pylons in there. So no rules have been made about who parks over there, who's allowed to park over there, or if we can use it during a snowstorm. How many cars?
Have we
I
had
don't know.
complaints as far as no spots left at the library front line? I don't.
Nobody's
recall.
complained to me, but I know that, and we're not allowed to park in the middle, only on one side
I
or the
get
other,
it.
so.
Maybe we leave a sleeping dog lie if there's room down there and.
Well, that's why, but there isn't usually enough room. I mean, that's what I usually
Well,
hear
we
about
don't
is
have any
where do I.
complaints. I mean, we certainly need this parking lot vacant too, if there's gonna be, whether the city follows it or whoever follows it, it has to be vacant, so. kids plow.
And
So
it needs to
let me
be
just
So
so
overnight,
I
it
understand.
needs to be cleared over there
Marty
too.
wants his parking lots completely empty so he can plow without obstruction. And he's moving the parking lot into other people's parking lots so they can plow with obstruction. When we have at least 2 parking lots now with the newly acquired here, can we say, move your stuff over here and move your back? I mean,
Well, that's,
it's one of these things where I would like to mow my path with nobody walking on it, but if my kids are out playing, that's something I have to deal with. Part of plowing, not saying that deal with it, but everybody else plows around cars that don't move, and they move on, and I understand it would be great to work in a clean parking lot, but I mean, is it really that big a problem when you send the issue out to move?
Well,
I mean,
I would worry about this one, if you got cars parked in there, is there really even enough room to get in there and plow?
well, and the thing is, but have you seen Marty plow snow? You don't really want to have your car in the vicinity when he's doing that, so. I'm just saying that much, but that's part of the discussion.
I guess
is-
part of the other question is then who's responsible when we start the day going up and cleaning what was left in the city lot? Do we clean that
Well,
up?
city locals,
Do they clean it? Okay.
we park on the west side, they will come in overnight and plow the east side, and then the next morning I will tell everybody to move to the east side, and then they can plow the other side.
Okay.
That's worked well for several years, right? It's just a matter of how many spots do we actually need for
Are
people?
we talking county vehicles, just county vehicles themselves? That's all that's parked here. How
You're
many do we
probably
have?
talking about 10 vehicles. I would say there's 4 in the secondary roads department. There's 3 in the assessor's office. There's 1 in health. There's 1 in zoning. So you're probably talking approximately 10 vehicles. County vehicles.
There are 11 spots, that should do it.
We only have 9
Oh,
at a maximum.
I mean, we had an issue,
again,
yeah.
that could be designated for how many spots are across the road.
Don't know, but.
It actually has 20, approximately 20 parking spots. And we hopefully will enter into an agreement with the city of Macokota for snow removal. That's the goal. So while they're clearing the city lot, that they also will clear this new parking lot. And yes, I have had conversation with Josh concerning what I call the cement pillars to have them removed. And eventually that will get done.
So, Lisa, am I correct in saying that there's cement blocks on the south and the east side? Is that correct?
Those pillars,
Pillars,
I
yeah.
think they're just on the east side.
Right?
They're not on the south side?
Mm-mm.
No,
No, that's empty. So there's like,
so they can go.
I want to say
straight
there's
through?
like 12 pillars is what I'm thinking. I'm sorry, Mike, go
They
ahead.
can go straight through like north
Yeah.
and south?
I don't, I
Yeah.
mean, those pillars. It's weird if we're gonna maintain it as separate property.
they kind of define off the property
Yeah.
because you go from
Well, it
parking
keeps
that
it
way to
keeps
this
a-
way.
It kind of keeps a barrier to say. Well, I could park up against here. If they got the option to go north and south, is that not sufficient? For the city, they want that.
That was just something that I had a conversation with Josh about.
I guess I don't know how.
And I could not give him permission to do that.
You wanted them gone?
Okay.
I know they got rid of that driveway entrance.
Yes.
Flat,
on the
correct.
property.
My concern would be with your parking going different directions from what the other side of the pillars parking lots. You know, they
I've-
come in at a east-west. And we're parking at a north-south along there,
Right,
which if you take them out, that allows them north-south
So-
ones to get into the driveway. kind of with the
City,
east-west.
well,
We might need to
Yeah,
replace
we
it with
need to have
something, maybe something
conversation.
less destructive to the plow, I don't know, but.
we need to have a conversation with Josh and the city employees about how, you know, what their thoughts are there.
I guess, I don't know. I get it, you tear the pillars out, they can just clear it as fast as possible, but if they run just north and south, those pillars really represent a minimal nuisance at best. Parking is perpendicular. East of those change of pillars, you park north and south. In our parking lots, your cars are facing east and west. If you take that out, are you gonna have to redesignate parking? Because you will have people that will just continually park north and south.
Yeah,
coming
it's a
across
city
the
lot.
road.
I mean, that the city owns that too, so I'm not sure. But so this, it's either the city or the county is who
I would
are
have
the owners of that.
concern of that'd be just a conglomeration of.
It's
Right,
gonna
yeah,
just
and-
keep working in.
Right, so
You're
I
gonna
mean,
lose the
to me,
driveway part.
the pillars are there and. You just come in and drop your blade and pull it back, or you just back up onto they come onto the sidewalk, they use the brush anyway, and that's on the front of the Bobcat. A lot of times when they do the trails and everything, now with that, they can come in, blow it out, but that's something, you know, if you wanna talk to Mike, I can talk to Josh or Frank, I don't care.
Well, we should probably have a discussion before the next snow or whatever, not necessary, but.
But for
I
the
would,
city,
yeah.
for the city, the lot has to be empty over here overnight, so they can clear it. So if they're gonna clear our portion of it as well, that also has to be empty overnight, that doesn't help us on a snow night.
Right.
So, that's,
But don't they have the same rules about the library lot, or you just?
No,
park them
They've allowed us.
East and,
east and west, so they can clear one side and then come in the next night and clear the other side.
you know,
So that's what Frank and I coordinate. I tell him which side to park on. And then I tell him to move the next morning so he can do the other side. And we have had no problems with that system. It's just not enough cars. Then there's spaces for what we need. If we have to put all of our county vehicles up there, it's not quite enough.
and just so I understand, what was the purpose of having the city clear the lot, just out of convenience, or?
They own it.
No, our
No,
lot.
ours.
Oh, ours.
Section. What was the
That
purpose?
was just a discussion that was had at the time.
Okay.
Because they're plowing right around it anyway.
Yeah.
So nobody thought it was gonna be a big deal. That, so.
You want, I can talk to Josh, or
That's fine.
and Frank can figure it out and come back next week with a recommendation.
Thank you. Works for me.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have today.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda, Lori from zoning again. Yes, you didn't get it up.
No,
Welcome back.
Lori, Ruth, good morning.
I still right home here,
Well, that's good.
under my little chair.
What's your name on that seat there?
Kind of like a turkey back in the day. So I think we probably want to start with the master matrix, which I'll be asking for you guys to sign a resolution on. It's an annual thing that the board of supervisors do. And I don't know how familiar you are with this, and I'm familiarizing myself with it as well. Basically, anytime, and I sent you quite a bit, basically the form that is the most pertinent for you guys is the worksheet number 1. When it talks about animal capacity. So basically, operators are allowed 1,000 animal units. So there's different sizes. So basically your feeder cow is worth at 1 point. And as long as they stay under that 1,000 head, so most of them will come in about,
That's 998.
I was thinking 996, but yes, they do. So, but
And it only weighs 700 pounds,
Yes.
yeah,
so just let me say. Over the 6 years I've been here, there's been extensive talk at the state level as far as redoing this whole master matrix, you know. The filter systems, you know, they say they gotta have a filter system or a blockade or whatever. So it could be a filter system that comes out, takes it underground into a charcoal system. Elaborate like, or whatever it might be, or it could be a furnace filter, something that. So there's a fine line of how this all works. I mean, it was designed to. I guess. Give a limit to what they could do, and it probably help some. They gotta pass this DNR scoring test first, so they gotta. Get so many points pass, and then it's not too hard to pass. Apparently.
yeah, and there's only a few people that have gone outside. And basically, when they go outside that 100 animal units, they have to jump through more hoops, and there's public meetings with surrounding properties, board of supervisors. Pardon me? No, yeah, 1,000 units,
You said
yeah, 1,000
You said
animal
100.
units. Oh, excuse me. Times 10, times 10.
You said 1,000 first round, the second round you reduced it by 900.
What? Honey, come on. So, but yes, 1,000 animal units. So basically it's a formality and maybe someday Mike's right, maybe the state will adopt different procedures and reduce it down to make, you
I
know,
mean, over the conversations I've had, I truly believe myself, this is my own opinion, I think the DNR just needs to be more involved there. I mean, I think they need to set the regulations as far as smell and as far as, you know, any waste or anything of that sort, you know, to stop the. It's important to us, of course, too, but we can't do it without them anyway, so they
Right.
give it.
right, and there's, you know. They do have some involvement, but not probably as much as they could, but
So is this the same agreement from the past for several years? It's just been certified
yes, sir.
every year? No
Yes.
changes or anything to it?
No, sir. Basically, it's the same thing, the dates have been changed and the names have been changed to protect innocent and fun.
Second.
A motion and second to approve the matrix construction evaluation as discussed. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Okay, and now it's just basically discussion, just to keep you guys a little bit in the loop, what's going on in our department. So as you guys know, I am also the floodplain manager, floodplain coordinator for our county. And being new to this role, I still have a lot to learn about that. And so I've just finished signing up for a FEMA training on, floodplain management for the county. And the course that I'm gonna be attending is set up the 23rd through the 26th. So it'll be in Nebraska, in Omaha. It's a free federal FEMA training. So basically all we're paying is my transportation and food and lodging. So they did recommend a hotel that was I think $110 a night. It's close. I found one as close for $80. So I'm gonna see if I can get into that one.
Things are looking different out there and all.
It says bring your own gun. So so I will be out of pocket, excuse me. Oh, that's. I plan on leaving here. It's a little over 5-hour drive. So I'll be leaving Sunday night and returning probably late the 26th, because it looks like the class goes until 5 p.m. on the 26th. I do have a Rotary talk at 11:15 on Friday, the 27th in Bellevue. So I'll be there for their luncheon. And then maybe stay for another meeting if that still goes through on the 27th while I'm in Bellevue. So just wanted to bring you guys in the loop on that. Any questions about the floodplain management? And I can, you know, hopefully I'll have a lot more knowledge come the 2026 than I do right now on my responsibilities in that role. And do you guys want to discuss anything about that CP thing or just let it sit for right now?
We know about as much as we know right now.
Okay, and I did reach out to that contact. He is on vacation, he's still checking his emails, just to let him know that we would consider doing that, but still like to see a public input session at some point.
Sure. I did get an email on that class or training that you were gonna take,
Yeah,
so I disregarded.
thank you. When I realized I made the mistake and put your name on it, because it says your department head, your blah, blah, blah. It's a new form through FEMA. I called the lady in Nebraska, in Omaha, and she laughed. She says, yep, brand new FEMA stuff that is the hardest stuff that we've ever seen. And they used to do it on paper and it was more user friendly. And she says, don't feel bad because half of the people attending this class messed up the registration. So, yeah. Yep. I was supposed to put a contact name from DNR, Nebraska DNR. And it was there, but not where it needed to be. But anyway, it's all better.
Okay,
All right.
appreciate it. Lou,
Any
input, how things working out?
Good. Want me to leave? You can answer that.
I'm gonna have a closed session or is it?
Should wait till you're gone to your class.
It's on the agenda though.
We wanna set it more.
We did take a road trip yesterday. We went out to Leisure Lake. The highlight of our trip was seeing a possum climb out one of the piles of debris that we were taking a picture of, and then we scared it, so then it went under the house. And we saw it a little bit later, unless it was a cousin, but that was our highlight of our road trip yesterday. We took lots of pictures.
Good to get. Covered to that, yeah.
So.
Get acquainted.
But no, it was eye-opening just to see more and what basically the purpose of that was to kind of verify the list a little bit to make sure the list that Leisure Lake provided me was all inclusive and didn't leave off.
Somebody.
Yeah, so we covered about what, a fifth, a sixth of the area. There was some lots, of course, we spent a little more time taking notes on and making sure we had pictures of several pictures, multiple pictures of some of the stuff that was going on there that needs
I
to
mean,
be
again,
abated.
it has been an issue in the past, and I think it's gotten a little better. But again, their organization themselves needed to take responsibility to control of
There,
their association.
there's things they can do, and there's things we can't do, like the vegetation and stuff like that is not part of our ordinance or our purview, is my understanding for the county. They did send their letters out and gave their people a 30-day. They sent them out, I believe, the first week of December, and they gave their people a 30-day window to clean stuff up, which we were out there after 30 days after they sent that notice, and obviously a lot of stuff has.
Just like we talked about before the meeting a little bit. I just want to make sure if we're gonna act as a county, we need to do it with the right legal standing, because again, experience with the city. You get calls all the time, ordinances, violations. And the only way the city can act on something is to see it from a public right. So if you say my neighbor has stuff in the backyard and you can only see it from your driveway, we can't see it, we can't do anything about it, or the city couldn't do anything about it.
Okay.
Leisure Lake is all private property. And so technically, unless we have the authorization to go in there for a complaint or whatever, we can only act on, to me, would we be only able to act on things we can see from the county road? We do not maintain the roads through Leisure Lake, that is all theirs. So technically that is one great big chunk of private property. So with the association coming saying we have these violations, help us. Does that give us the legal standing to go and do that? That's my
I
question.
do have permission from their board to, it's private, so, basically not just anybody is allowed to drive through there. I do have permission, standing permission from the board. And then the one thing you mentioned about complaints, that is a problem. Because they're complaining about you and they like you because they drink beer with you. So you have worse things going on than they do, but you're not getting pounded. So what I'm gonna try to do is be more proactive, because we can do that, is my understanding from other zoning administrators. I do have an appointment tomorrow afternoon where John and I have a list of different things that Mom and I need to discuss. Because I told Leisure Lake I would have our notices to the property owners by the 16th of January, but it's probably gonna be the 20th of January where we send things out. I mean, as long as, and John's ready to go, he says he really likes property law.
Well,
So,
I just want to make
yeah.
sure we're on the right legal standing.
And we will,
Yeah.
we'll make sure that we're doing it right. Like I said, John won't let us do anything we're not supposed to. I have a feeling. And I might as well tell you guys, I have a goal. I don't know how we'll implement it, but one thing at a time. It wouldn't be till probably this time next year. Because there's still gonna be problems in Leisure Lake this time next year. We'll be in court. How many times, we don't know, but we will be in court with some of this, I have no doubt. But my goal is, after we get a handle on Leisure Lake, and if we do have the authority to do things that, you know, that we can see, or, you know, that we know is there, even aerials. I would either like to approach it, proactively, not wait for the complaints, proactively township by township. And going town by township of the nuisances that we can identify and get them cleaned up. Either that corridor by corridor, Highway 64, Highway 61, Highway 52. In 62, I don't know, we have to decide how we want to address that, but. You know, waiting, it's just sad that we have to wait for a neighbor to get so fed up that they have to report it. We can be proactive. It's kind of like even with law enforcement, they can be proactive. They don't have to wait till they get a complaint of a drunk driver. They can sit and look, they can look for them. So
But we were always told that they had to file a complaint or somebody had to file a complaint.
it's our policy because we didn't have the resources, it's my understanding, to be proactive and go out on ours. That's been what I've kind of read and understood. I don't believe it's a law, but it's part of the way our county's done business, is my understanding. Can you imagine if we just, you know, went and started with the whole county? I mean, it would be never ending. And then too, you'd want to make sure that you're equitable and consistent and being fair in the enforcement. So, but, you know, if we identified, you know, like I said, township by township, corridors, you know, Highway 61, 64, what are people seeing when they drive down the highway in our county? What are we presenting to the public when they're driving down the road?
To me, the big way to start, I want it to be fair and equitable. I want it to look like we're spot picking different places to clean things up.
Correct.
But maybe starting from this highways, you know, look at the highways, the, you know, 136, you know, 61, 64, all those, and start working towards, you know, out in the middle of nowhere on a gravel road kind of thing.
Right,
You know,
right.
you know,
And that's why at first I was thinking township by township, and it's like, no, people are seeing, you know, 61, 64, 52, 62.
Mhm.
That's where their eyes are going. And then maybe after that, yeah, there might be someone else's problem with it, but,
Caves Road, Belgian Cascade. you know,
Absolutely.
Even, yeah, maybe
Cave Valley,
road count,
the hard surface.
maybe road count has something to do with it, too, I don't know. 1,000 cars on this road a day, and then there's 300 on this road, I don't know if that.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't, I mean, it wouldn't have to. I
No,
mean,
but
it-
more people see it.
right, and Highway 61 then would be our priority. You know.
Yeah, and I don't
more
see a
people-
major issue with Highway 61 for us, you know,
Not really.
going up and down 61, I don't.
Well, part of that's in the city, though. One of the things I'm thinking of, it's the
Well-
worst eyesore that, you know, but that's not the county's problem, that's the city's.
You know, and I look at Leisure Lake a little bit too, and our family has a long history there.
Absolutely.
And I'd say it's kind of a mess of their own making,
Okay.
you know,
They-
so, you know, we can't be always the savior of the private parties of the world, yet, you know,
And I've been to their association meetings and I've relayed that to them, that they have to be a governing body over their association.
But we still have an ordinance that we need to follow, whether it's Leisure Lake or not.
Right,
And
I mean-
we've never been this, obviously, looking at Leisure Lake, we've never been the savior of Leisure Lake. And maybe it's time that we do a little bit more out there. I mean, they're asking for help. The property owners are asking for help. And actually, the first conversation I had with the president out there, I was calling out there because I was needing some assistance. And he's like, I'm glad you called because we don't feel like we're getting support from Jackson County. I said, that's funny because I'm calling you because I don't feel like I'm getting support from Leisure Lake.
well,
So,
like I say, Jackson County's got nothing to do with it. We don't do the roads.
no,
I mean, and I talked,
but our
I even had this
ordinance,
conversation with my dad, and he was like, is he help build it?
absolutely.
And I'm like, we don't do the roads, we do the gravel roads around it, but it's kind of like a farm. We don't go in and maintain the pasture driveways of a farm. That's kind of way that property with it is. Normally in a subdivision or some kind of development, the roads and stuff are put in. And then they're given to the municipal entity, whether it be a city, a county, whoever. And then the county has the maintenance thereof, which gives them accessibility to say, I can see what you're doing to your house from my roadway.
Yeah.
You know, that's where there's this quirky little thing about.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, like Kurt's subdivision is,
Oh, there's all kinds of subdivisions.
they're all, that are
They're all
private.
Right?
Dressler's private,
Mhm.
Cheney might be. Yeah, part of Cheney is public, but there's
You got north, you got 2 or 3 of them up north.
several that are all private.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we still have an ordinance that's countywide that doesn't say just because you have a private drive that we can't do our job. And even the Leisure Lake bylaws and their own, so to speak, ordinance says that they must follow, they still have to be in compliance with county zoning. So that's part of theirs, and they agreed that our ordinances will be enforced in that, I don't want to say subdivision.
As long as the legal standing is there with you, the property association, the governing body, to give us the authority to do that, I'm okay with doing whatever, I just
Okay.
wanna make sure we're on legal standing.
And I can fill you guys in a little more next week, what John and I talked about, if you would like me to. And where I am on getting their letters sent out, should it, it be legal,
Mhm.
okay?
Yep.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you for the info.
I'll be back till you get tired of me.
All right. Any reports or, we don't have anything scheduled for budget work sessions today? Correct?
Thursday.
Yeah, but nothing, nothing after. Okay, any board or commission reports from anyone?
Send me the wording.
You get your feet wet yet?
Now,
As you've seen on the email, 911, there's got some stuff going on, so.
you talked a little bit last meeting about what's looking at the board of supervisors budget.
Yeah, and I think we're set up for,
You can do that today. You can do that anytime. I mean, it's up to you. It's your time frame.
Well, I guess one question I had is I went through the people that talked to us. I went through and kind of plugged in their new numbers. And on the Pioneer Cemetery Commission, last year they got 60,000. And then there was something about 50,000 this year, but I think in that meeting, we were discussing, maybe they have too much money. We were thinking more like 30,000. Is that a levy?
so I will just say this, Don, normally when we go through the budget, we'll actually open that up, our budget, and we'll go through that line by line. Yeah, go all the way down to it. There's other items in there, the revolving loan fund and that kind of thing. We gotta talk about all of them. So I think we just we'll wait till we do our budget work session. As far as when we're gonna do it for the board of supervisors, or just like the sheriffs or secondary roads also.
I guess I did that just so I could look and see how it worked out and. The Pioneer Cemetery Commission, were they wanting 60,000 this year or were they wanting 30,000?
The first part of it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and what
last year they got 60.
I'd have to look back.
Who's that?
Pioneer Cemetery,
Because they have their own levy,
yeah.
we made the adjustment on the levy. So they asked to expend, I think, 60,000, but we only levied 50, I think, or whatever.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand this. I think during that session, they were talking about maybe because of their balance.
They did have a high balance.
Maybe
Yes.
you're only levying 30, so does that budget number in there go to 30 or does it stay at 60?
So they're gonna spend 60, they're only going to receive levy 30.
Okay.
If that's, without looking at the numbers
They
to make
also
sure,
Indicated that they didn't have a lot of projects scheduled.
right?
I mean, I guess there's a lot of line items that we're gonna look at besides.
Yes.
just That one.
Cause I was just looking, I was like, actually. We're saving money if you look at the decrease in some of the other ones that came for what they said was the same, but less.
Again, we'll have to go through all that
Okay.
probably and decide.
Mhm.
I mean, we'll have to have Shelley and Lisa here and discuss what each line item is for and where we think we need to go with it.
Right.
Okay. That's how we've normally done it, I guess, in the past, or since I've been here.
Yeah, I mean, there are gonna have to be some discussions based on who has already, come to the board. Asking for a budget allocation, and I know that there's some differences with what we gave last year and it's not an automatic either. Just because you come in, you also need to request that money, and I know that that's a situation that we have right now is. They
Yeah,
asked for it last year, but they never have come back and asked for it again.
I mean, yeah, you got Dakota Watershed, you got the senior center, you got the, every one of them that come in, I guess we just go through them and say, yeah or nay. Or,
And do you want to allow for the increases? That's really the other
That's-
thing is you're
yeah.
gonna have to make that decision if you want to allow for
and
those
I'll be honest,
increases.
it's-
Yes, it is.
Well,
I mean, you
I mean,
know,
look at what NEI 3A, they're up $9,500 from last year they're at. And haven't heard the overwhelming beacon of they're doing a wonderful job. You know, so. but,
And that's the tough part of the budget.
it is.
One of the many tough
I
budget
mean,
parts.
you know, I said it before, and that 9% inflation rate not just hits you at home in the pocketbook, but it's gonna hit the county in the pocketbook also, what you're saying. And you got a $20+ million budget, that's a good percentage.
you know,
So we got a lot of discussion yet before March 15th.
And we need to be, now we're at a point that we need to be consistent and steady when it comes to meeting for the budget and talking about it. I mean, we need to, I'm not gonna tell you that we need to step up our game, but we need
Oh,
to,
I would agree.
we need to be consistent now,
Well, if there's something else that works during the week besides this Thursday or even
right?
in the late afternoon or the morning, whatever works for you guys.
Yeah.
I guess your schedule is probably most demanding at this point.
well, like I say, I can make, if we wanna, you know, meetings a lot of times seem to be ending 10:30, 11. I go for, we can squeeze a couple in after that, you know. I usually try to get back to work by 1 Thursdays. I don't, you know, the only reason we can't start sooner than 10 on Thursday is I have an appointment at 8:30.
Oh, that's fine.
So.
We'll get it worked out.
Yeah, I'm not panicked. I just,
Yeah.
we just need to keep moving forward.
No, I'm cool with it, like you say. Whatever, I know next Thursday, we're gone.
Right.
On Thursday after we're.
Well,
gone.
we'll have secondary roads and the sheriff in here, so that'll be.
Yeah. That's nature, right?
That's the 26th, I thought,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the following
the
Thursday.
following Thursday.
We're
We
gone
can do
from
something at
noon.
1 in that afternoon.
Or you're even done by 1. Oh, okay,
Well, I certainly think we should, what do we got today, 10th?
yes.
So even the next 2 weeks, Luann, if we can schedule something after our board meeting for an hour or two, that's.
Yeah.
Or even discuss, you know,
Ours or whatever to get it, kind of get things going and moving.
Right,
this,
and let's send
this morning here.
Elisa's crew
supposed to
in.
try to do-
Elizabeth's coming in today. After her, at a budget work session, that she can't be here on the 12th. She's not here, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Elizabeth, I told you about, is coming in today, yet after. As part of our budget work session.
Okay, I
That
don't
we're in
know.
right now.
No, we're still.
We're still in
We're
the
still
meeting.
in the meeting.
When is she coming?
When I call her,
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I didn't know that, and
I didn't see that listed on the work session.
it's not listed on there,
Oh,
because it's
budget.
flexible, because. we
Yeah,
can-
but I see budget work session, but if somebody's slated in after a meeting, can we get that added in there so we, you know?
We can, especially if you have more than one, I'll make sure that I give you a list on the side at least.
Okay.
of Who's coming in.
So, and I have to move this along so we can include that. I'll move to adjourn.
Second that.
have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.